Where do I go? What will I be? It's who I am. What will they see? Maybe I pray, yeah. At the end of my days, yeah. What will they say? What will they say?
All right.
I don't even know. You don't even have a notebook.
Oh, no.
You're just going off.
We're
the
just,
cuff.
yeah, we're just riffing, dude. Well, you're.
This will be the most unstructured episode of your podcast because I have no idea where it could go.
What are your thoughts on abortion?
Oh,
No, I think it's.
Woo! Coming in hot.
No, I think. Well, it's. I was thinking about it. I was like, I probably should get some notes. I was like, no, I don't really need to because there's just certain people I think that you can just talk to. Like we just talked on Friday.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, we probably could have sat and talked there for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
I felt like that because it was the one thing is, if there wasn't work to get in the way and this,
Right.
Pesky need for a paycheck, we could have just kept going. There's plenty of topics, plenty of problems to solve in the world.
Yeah. Right. That's exactly how I feel. And I just feel like I don't know why people don't see how intelligent we are.
It's beyond me. Honestly, I don't know why the genius isn't recognized.
Right. Right. And so this is almost, I like to think of it almost as like our coming out a little bit party. Not,
Hey-o.
but I do. So we've touched on abortion, homosexuality. And so here we go. But no, I do think because we talked a little bit when we were talking on Friday, I was curious when you brought up the fact that you don't drink. And It's interesting. I thought that would be, it was either that or V-necks, because I do think we do need to touch, it wouldn't be really complete if we didn't touch V-necks. So I was thinking like where to go.
I just wore one on Saturday, so.
Did you really?
Oh yeah, they're back.
So I was going to put one on, but I don't know. I think I'm starting to get, what do they call it? Like groupthink. I think I'm starting to lose my love for V-necks a little bit, just in total transparency.
Ooh.
They were real. They've been hanging there on the hangers for a while. And when I put them on, it almost felt like I was putting on, what did they used to wear back in like Jesus's day? Like
like a tunic.
Yeah.
You got a full on tunic.
It wasn't hugging my neck at all. It was kind of like here, and then it was coming to here. And I just felt like.
That's more of a hanger problem.
Well, I think you bring up a great point, because here's the issue with V-necks with hanging. I have the velvet hangers, or not the velvet, like not the.
Where are these V-necks from?
The hangers. What do you call that material? It's like grippy. It's like, is it velvet? The hanger itself is like it's got a grip to it versus plastic. Because I think if you could do a plastic hanger.
I was just envisioning those big puffy ones that my wife has.
Oh, no.
That put the dresses on and it's delicately placed on it. That's what I'm envisioning you doing at night, is delicately placing your V-necks on the hanger.
No, these ones are like, they're not those ones. I wish I knew what the material was. We'll put it in the comments. It's like a grippy material. So the whole idea is that the shirt, the longer it sits on the hanger, it doesn't sort of stretch like I think is happening. Yeah. But it's still happening. And again, I was going to put one on, but I just felt like I didn't have a gold chain or chest hair, because it's getting very low. The V is getting very low.
You got the V-neck creep.
Yeah, exactly. So it's either do you buy a fresh batch of V-necks, or do you just continue to wear them until they just wear down to your hips?
Or do you just bow down to Gen Z and get your crew necks and you're all good?
I know. And that's where I feel like I'm at a real crux, So kudos to you for wearing them. I just hadn't worn them for a while, and I'm starting to wonder if I'm trying to be, am I trying to be someone I'm not,
That's a real identity crisis.
It is.
When you're
It really is, because again, I thought for sure that would be a topic that I just needed to confess that to you, that I haven't worn a V-neck in a while, and it's not something I'm not proud of it, but I'm just being honest, you know what I'm saying?
Well, in all fairness, I wore one at a 5K only because Ashley's like, why don't you not wear something with like something printed on it? Like I was going to throw on the old Jungle Land, or was it Jungle Cruise t-shirt?
Oh, yeah, the Disney one. That was
Disney.
Solid.
Yeah, I was going to throw that on for the 5K, and she's like, why don't you just wear something plain? And I was like, all right, touche. I am 41 years old.
We're Disney World shirts.
Yeah.
I almost wore a Disney hoodie, but here's the issue. Here's a real dilemma I just kind of thought in my head. Let's say you have a Jungle Cruise shirt. Is that shirt blue?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say that shirt is blue, or it is blue, and you have that shirt, option A. Option B, you have that shirt, same exact color, no print, but it has a V-neck on it. Why all of a sudden is it like, oh, he's a little dressed up now? We added a V, you know what I'm saying? We took off the decal and we added a V-neck, and it's like now you could go to church and, maybe feel a little bit more comfortable than a total print.
You've classed it up, just that little scoop right there has added just that touch of class.
But why the print, though? Why does the print make it any less,
I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just what it's got on it. Maybe it's because I'm an infant and I'm wearing children's clothes. With a hippopotamus on it or whatever it's got on it. It's got the riverboat and hippopotamus.
I know exactly. Yeah, we'll have to put that picture on there. I think, because we went to church yesterday and I thought I was going to wear like a beach barn shirt, which is like, I don't know, it's a brand. I think it's somewhat...
I'm unfamiliar.
It has a rooster riding a surfboard is like their logo.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. I like
and
that.
I thought to myself, I'm gonna put that on, but I thought, because it's a nicer shirt. But then if I have that shirt and it doesn't have the beach barn on it or like vineyard vines, then all of a sudden it's less dressy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
It's just, I don't know what I'm doing with shirts, I guess is where the whole point, But yeah.
Honestly, I'm not worried about it. I'm dressed for work.
Yeah, you look good.
It's like I'm going to roll right in. This is like the business casual.
Yeah. Now, do you wear jeans?
There are occasions, if I go into the office on Friday, we can do like a company t-shirt and some jeans.
Okay, so here's a question. So why all of a sudden versus like... It's like khakis.
Sensible khakis, a sensible pair of slacks.
But why are khakis more formal than jeans?
Look, I don't know, because they're actually more comfortable. Right?
Khakis?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like more comfortable, little more give.
Yeah, a little more breathability, perhaps.
A little more breathability.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know why society has these rules imposed on us, but
we're breaking them down. We're breaking them down.
We're just breaking down walls.
I've just always been confused. Like, hey, it's jeans. We're wearing jeans on Friday. It's almost like it's all of a sudden it feels like they're letting people wear wife beaters now on Friday. They're just jeans. They're the same thing.
It is
khakis.
just another pair of pants. Now, I will say I get it from our aspect as guys. When the ladies get to do it, I think that's when their mind explodes because they're used to having to wear like they wear a lot of dresses at work, I think, and I to be honest, I don't pay a lot of attention to what they're wearing, if I'm going to be honest. But they look a whole lot dressier than I do. So I think that's the at least maybe that's just me internalizing how I feel about myself.
Right, but I think if I just think about what dresses are, again, we are really breaking down. Again, this is why we don't have notes, and maybe this is going to be awful, but I think it's really insightful. A dress is really nothing more than just a really long T-shirt.
Yeah, I can see that.
So really all they're wearing is a really long T-shirt and probably underwear, and all of a sudden that's very dressy. Well,
it is, and I think, I've never personally worn a dress, but I think they find it uncomfortable.
You think so?
Maybe. I think sometimes. I don't know.
I would
Otherwise they would wear them all the time.
That is a great question. Are dresses uncomfortable?
I mean, yeah. I mean,
why would they be?
I don't know. Think about it this way: if you're wearing a really long T-shirt around with just underpants on underneath it, like how comfortable? Like if I wore that in here to this podcast, I mean, maybe even if I'm comfortable with it, are you a little uncomfortable? You just got the visual.
I did. Well, it's like I don't think. Would I be uncomfortable? Perhaps, but that's just because.
But I'd be super comfortable.
I think you really would be.
Back with my legs wide open,
feet on the table,
just enjoy the horizon, man.
Just
enjoy.
Because we went. They had that Journey Through Bethlehem thing where you dressed up like people from.
Oh yeah.
And we were poor people because they're like, we want you to be someone who you are today. And so, therefore, we want you to dress up like poor people.
We don't want the acting to be a real stretch for you.
Right. It was seamless. And so was the shirt. The shirt was seamless. It was just a piece of cloth that had a hole in it. I put it on my head, stuck my arms through, and I felt naked, kind of. But then once I became comfortable with it, I was wearing gym shorts underneath.
That's
but
what
once,
I did.
yeah, and I still felt like a little like I feel funny. But in the meantime, I'm like, if I was gonna get a workout in or go for a walk or pick the kids up from school, it's probably the most versatile outfit I could have. You know, I think it's really comfortable.
You can start the trend. Bring back tunics.
I just don't think. I'm looking at what you're wearing, and that takes 7-8 buttons. You got pants on, underwear, probably a belt, probably an undershirt. Because if I think I know you, like I know you, and then you got socks and shoes, and then somehow women think they have it more difficult because they put on a long shirt. You know what I'm saying? I feel like we need to start breaking down these barriers that are holding us back.
Breaking down the lies.
Right.
That we're being told.
Right, exactly. Exactly. Bring back tunics. V-necks are out. Tunics are the next thing.
Tunics are in.
That's what I'm saying, man. We had pants. I promise I probably have some serious questions. Did you ever have pipes growing up?
I don't even know what that is.
Okay.
So no, I don't think.
So pipes would have been popular in like the mid 90s, and they were a brand of pants, and they were almost like tunics except for your just hips down. They were really, really baggy pants. I'll put a picture of pipes on here so we know.
Yeah, so, like, I guess when I was coming along, the JNCO jeans, that's
See?
what I'm thinking of. The big skater jeans with the ultra-wide legs.
Yes.
That's what I had.
JNCO jeans?
JNCO, J-N-C-O.
JNCO. Okay, so I
JNCO.
think JNCO and pipes are the same thing. Maybe pipes are the
Probably.
northern version.
Yeah, maybe so. It was, here in the deep south, we
Right,
went to JNCO.
JNCO.
I had those. I had a couple of those super wide leg. And it's real embarrassing to look back on them now, honestly.
I had a pair of brown corduroy pipes or JNCOs.
Oh.
Brown corduroy, dude. It was kind of like the V-necks. I've only busted it out on like Fridays, that, and I had American Eagle was big, but it was if you rocked an American, I couldn't afford an Abercrombie and Fitch, but if you had American Eagle with a pair of pipes, bro, you were like, you didn't even need to wear shoes because you were just so good up top.
Now I see it now. That's how you and Kristen just kind of...
Yeah, dude.
She saw those corduroy pipes and she was like, oh, this is the one. This is the one. I'm going to marry this dude.
Yeah, I was a fairly big tool bag. Maybe I still am.
I feel like, I was a pretty big tool for wearing those.
I think she probably saw like a renovation. Is what she saw, like a dinky house, and she's like, maybe there's wood floors underneath the carpet, but he's wearing pipes. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like linoleum flooring.
I think women instinctually they want a project. They want something to fix. And she saw you, and she's like, I can fix that.
Right.
I can fix that. That's an easy tear to. I think the bones are good underneath.
Right.
I just got to get rid of this messy exterior.
Right, exactly. That's 100% right. I mean, I got some asbestos we had to probably clear out of there, but it was like linoleum flooring and, green carpet. And that was the pipes,
She ripped it
man.
up. She found the hardwood underneath.
We're down to,
Wait a minute.
Oh, shit.
That just rolled off my tongue before I even thought that one through. And that's,
I'll just let that one sit in the air for a minute. What I was gonna ask you initially is when you were talking about we were just talking about drinking or whatever and alcohol, which is we just segue just seamlessly to
dude,
this.
that was a smooth transition.
Yeah. There's no better way to do it, I don't think. But you don't drink, and I didn't really know that, and it's like I don't know. So I kind of want to dive deeper into that a little bit because you said a couple interesting things, but I wanted to touch on it. So why doesn't Chris Smith drink alcohol anymore?
Well, let's go back to my drinking career.
Okay. Is this JNCO days or is this after post JNCO?
It starts in JNCO days.
Okay.
I mean, this goes back to some wide leg. I mean, you could store a lot of beer bottles in there.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Life of the party. I mean, the pockets on those things were ridiculous.
Dude, you could put a body in one of those, man.
Basically, you could hide an extra person. So, I guess I first started drinking around 16-ish, maybe 15. Mm-hmm. My sister and her ex-husband, they kind of lived out in the country. Anything goes, right? So you can let a 15, 16-year-old sit on the porch, have some beers. maybe get into some other extracurriculars,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
And that's, cause yeah, out in the country, it was like,
Little bonfire.
beer, bonfire, little marijuana.
Mm.
It's like,
Right.
you get the whole experience
Right,
up there.
right,
So,
right.
So I think that's where I started off, and I just kind of developed a taste for alcohol for sure. Because, like, you know, some people just like the effects too. I like the effects, but I like the taste. And that's problematic, right? Like, if you're just doing it for the effects, but you're like, oh, this tastes awful, but
Yeah.
I'm going to do it. Maybe you would turn away from it a little quicker.
I didn't like the taste. I remember a beer. We were drinking like Natty Lights. And I was probably,
That would be why.
yeah, that probably would, I think that's really all. I don't think we could afford Bud Lights, but it was like Natty Light. And I was probably, I remember from 14 or 15, I had a friend named John McIntosh. And we told each other, because people were starting to drink at 14, 15, and we told each other, we're like blood brothers, dude. We're not going to drink at all. We're going to be just stone cold sober. I don't remember why we said that. But then I remember we kind of like didn't hang out one weekend, and word got back to me that he had started drinking. And I'm like, dude, what, you left me out here.
Straight edge, bro. Straight edge. Did you not see the X's on our hands? I don't know if you know about the straight edge. But,
And he left me. But so then I picked up drinking, and I just remember I did not like the taste. I don't even know if I liked the effect much, but I did it.
Oh, see, I started out, it was probably like dark stuff too. Like weird to start out drinking Newcastle at like 15. But it was like Newcastle and Guinness and like,
Dang.
I was a very sophisticated drinker.
You were drinking
Matt.
motor oil.
Yeah,
That's
basically.
insane.
And Yingling Black and Tan was probably like one of the lighter ones. So
Huh.
so I'm starting out like drinking some really good stuff.
Yeah.
And then probably, everything. I was super young for this. When I think back about it, because then you'd have people that would buy you like the little pints of liquor, stuff like that, and you can sneak that around, right? You can sneak that in like your bag on vacation or whatever else, and get a little sweet.
Yeah.
Crazy, but you
Yeah,
get
right.
a little something,
Right.
a little something,
Just a little
a little
kind of in
nip.
between meals.
A little nip, yeah. And so, like, I just really had I just developed a palate for it.
Huh.
So I think, somewhere in college, that's where like you would start drinking to excess, right? Like it was no longer like, oh, I'm just gonna get a little buzz and stuff. You'd get blackout drunk, and I didn't like that. Like I didn't like waking up the next day and not really knowing what happened. Or I wake up like I went to a party in my freshman year and made a total fool of myself. Like I was so embarrassed that I was like hoping nobody from that party saw me on campus the next day. I'm walking with my head down and a hat because
Right.
like
you wearing a tunic.
Oh, I had the tunic on. I like did a dive bomb on the asphalt, like just flat out jumped, and because I woke up with like my elbows and knees skinned up. Like that morning, I remember waking up and I had to peel the sheet off my knee because it was just stuck to it. And I mean, the scary thing is, and my wife Ashley, she brought this up the other day. She was like, "You're really lucky because I would drive drunk."
Dang.
And I never got caught. I thought it wasn't going to bother me. Sometimes we'd have somebody as a designated driver, but more often than not, it's like, I'm fine. I'm cool, and I'm not cool at all. Like
Right.
I'm like way more drunk than I'm letting on. I just got a buzz. Meanwhile, I've had like, 6 or 7 drinks and hopped in the car, and nobody really was sober enough to say, this is a terrible idea.
Right.
I have one of my buddies, and it's kind of funny. Like, he's still living at home, and he had to get up for work the next day after we went out partying. And his parents were downstairs. His room was upstairs. I was like, all right, let's go set his alarm, and I'm like completely just out of my mind. And I go upstairs, and instead of walking into his bedroom to help him set the alarm, I'm walking around in the attic, which is directly over their room. And they get up, and they're like, what are you doing? And I'm like, just I'm helping him set his alarm. And his room's over there. Are you drunk? No, I'm good. I'll see y'all later. And I leave. I mean, just stupid stuff.
Right.
Stupid. So, anyway, that's college. I mean, I don't think that's probably unlike anybody else's college experience. I mean, except for like a 1% of people who are super responsible and like, wise past their years.
Right.
So anyway, then it's kind of spiraling a little bit. I mean, there's that tipping point I talked about, right? It's like Mr. Fun's around, and then all of a sudden, like the switch flips, and I'm getting angry because I'm just thinking about all the things that are wrong. And looking back, it's probably not like real problems. It's not real problems.
Right.
It's just like, I don't have any girls that like me, and I don't have any money, got money to go drink, but I don't have any money.
Right.
So I'm just really like spiraling into all this negative thought in my mind, and I'm getting mad, and it is unpleasant for everybody around me too.
You're bringing everybody down.
I'm bringing everybody down because now I'm getting mad at people just randomly.
Are you just mean mugging people, just waiting to see just someone to meet your glance? Because I've seen people like that too, like just somebody give you an ugly look and then you're kind of mad at them.
Probably. I mean, and I wasn't getting into fights, but it was like I'd be really pissed off and I'd blast them out.
Yeah.
But I'm not like, there's probably one time where I got in a fight because of that, but outside of that, it wasn't like I was out there picking like physical fights. It was just more like verbal stuff.
Right.
So generally unpleasant to be around because I didn't have that spot where I'm like, you know what? I think I've had enough. I'm just going to keep going.
You just kept searching. Yeah.
I'm just going to keep going. And so that's like an unhealthy habit to have. I think if you can moderate yourself, you're probably okay, but I'm not really great at, doing things in moderation.
I think back to, so you were probably like early 20s and you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I think the drinking escalated 16 to 18. I mean, I wasn't drinking a lot. I was drinking, not a ton. But then the taste I got over pretty quickly. Where I didn't love the taste, but then I was okay with it. And I would drink a lot on weekends, I think. I don't think I'd get angry. I mean, I'm sure a handful of times I did. But I don't really know why. I think I was drinking because more of a social acceptance. Like I wanted to be kind of cool, or I wanted to be like doing what everyone else was doing. I don't think my drinking at that point had any. There was any meat on the bone. You know what I mean? It was just social acceptance, I think.
Yeah, I get that.
And then college is interesting because I always feel like college is such a fine. I don't know, especially with kids. I'm not really sure how to handle it. I didn't have a quote unquote campus experience. I didn't live in dorms or anything like apartments or anything like that. I was working, just commuting, but that college is interesting because there's always like, well, you just got to drink responsibly in college. And I'm like, sort of feels like an oxymoron though. And I don't,
Is that possible?
Right. And I don't want to be I don't want to be the guy who's coming off as like, you shouldn't drink and I'm judging you, because that's not the case either. You know what I'm saying? I just think we have a broken relationship with it.
I think moderation is the key, and if you can do that, that's great. I just have a problem being 100% at that.
Was your family? Did you have come from alcoholic kind of background family?
No,
really.
No,
interesting.
I mean, it's like my dad didn't drink at all. I think when I was growing up, my mom didn't drink at all. So, wow. I mean, it's just something I fell into.
Yeah. Huh.
And then, but there was no pattern or something that I modeled to get there. Right. So there's nobody to blame. This guy. So, you go along, and I think, you get out of college, and then it is more of like, that's how you hang out with friends, right?
Yeah.
Come over, let's have some drinks. Right, and we should hang out and get a couple of drinks, and that's like the thing.
Yeah,
and
right.
we're going to grill out. We're going to have some drinks. So now I'm associating everything with drinks.
Yep.
So weddings, work functions, barbecues, all that stuff. It's like you got to have a drink in your hand. And, that becomes tough. Really loved going out to, there used to be the Kinston Indians, and then now it's the Wood Ducks.
Yeah.
Down East Wood Ducks.
Yeah.
And they do Thirsty Thursdays.
Yeah.
And dollar drafts. And
Yep.
it was a beautiful thing until it wasn't beautiful. Until it got ugly.
Right.
But that's around the point in time where, I'm meeting Ashley, we're getting serious, getting married. There were several times where I drank pretty heavily around her, and she would go, this is not attractive. This is not a good look for you. Like, this is not doing it for me.
What do you mean?
Yeah, basically. Because, I'm sitting there slack-jawed just... And there was one time in particular after one of those Thirsty Thursdays where she did not go, but I came home and I was downstairs just sitting in the recliner. All the lights are out. She heard me come in, but I'm just sitting there and I'm trying to play it off because she's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm just watching TV." She's like, "TV isn't on."
Shoot.
And I was like, "I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just trying to take a rest. Just leave me alone." And so that was one of those times where I'm like, okay, well, I need to stop that. But maybe I was a little more moderated at that point, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to have a drink or two. I'm not going to get crazy. I'm going to get a nice buzz. I'm going to kind of stop.
Yeah.
And I think I could do that. Like, I got to the point. But I guess the problem is, like, you come home from work. It's like, it's been a long day. I just need to have a beer.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you come home every day. It's like, there's something that goes wrong every day.
Right.
So you could just come home and have beer every day.
Right.
Right. So you're still consuming like a lot. It's just spread out over the week. So that's kind of where I was rolling into having children, right? I'd have a casual beer and we could go out and have a drink or two, and maybe I would watch myself, not because I really felt bad about it, but it was because I don't want to be like degraded by my wife. I don't want to be lambasted.
Right.
That's
Right.
the thing when I get home. So basically, I'm afraid of my wife, I guess.
That's what I'm saying. Well, yes, it's almost like maybe you just wanted to tone down, not for yourself, but just for somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
I remember too when we were, because you are right, especially after college. Is like, yeah, we're gonna go out to the beach and drink. We're gonna go out to a restaurant and have drinks. We're going to go out to the bar and have drinks. We're going to go out dancing, and drink, and everything is like kind of socially constructed around that.
Go out dancing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you get enough. I would probably go out, but then I would be like, man, I probably was an idiot last night, like, and then, but I remember even being like, even wanting to go out for like lunch or dinner. Kristen would be like, you want to go to like Jersey Mike's? And I was like, You want to go to like, where else? Like Bee's Barbecue or something? I'd be like, no. Well, yeah, there's that too. But like, if they didn't serve alcohol, I was kind of like not really. They could have the most amazing food, but I'd be like, but they don't have beer.
Oh yeah.
And I was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It drives the decision making.
Yeah.
What the overall experience is going to be with your meal, and so, I mean, I think that's where I'm at when I'm married without children. And you can still go out and have a couple of drinks and like be lazy the next day at that point, right? Like you don't have anybody to look after. It's like if I feel bad because I've went a little overboard, then just kind of
what? Yeah.
Just lay in bed, order a pizza,
right.
be fine,
right?
And then kids come into the picture, and kids. Like, honestly, anybody who's listening that's ever had kids knows it, like, dramatically changes your worldview. Changed. Maybe not everybody. It changed mine, and that's, can't generalize everybody. But then I start thinking about what I'm modeling in my behavior, and, that's not enough to get me to, like, really just flat out cut it out. But, my son's 6 months old. it's a holiday weekend. We go over, we're having drinks with people, and people I trust, and they stick the beer bottle up to his mouth, and I'm just thinking, oh, it's funny. They're trying to make it look like he's drinking beer or whatever, and then turn it up so that he gets a sip. I think innocently enough, they probably want to do like when you have a kid suck on a lemon, you see their face turn. Yeah. Like, I think that was what they were going for, but I was like, oh, now I'm feeling real bad because I've created an environment that is like giving a 6-month-old, like maybe a little bit, but it's still, he's had alcohol on his lips now, and who knows whether, like his father, he's like, tastes all right.
Yeah, you got a Guinness back there?
Yeah. He's just a baby. It's a black and tan. You gotta start him up. Right. You gotta work. Anyway, so I feel I'm really in a deep shame spiral about that one because I tell Ashley about it and she's really upset because she was not there watching it at the time. She was in the house, and I think she would have lost her mind had she saw it. I didn't really say anything, and then I'm going, I should have said something, or it's like you're trying to replay everything that happened, and I was up late that night, and I was like, I just got to stop. Like, this is my fault. It's not his fault. Like, I created the environment. I'm smiling. We're all having a good time. I'm drinking. This is on me. Like, I'm not big on blaming others for things that happen. Right. Like, he should have never done that. Like,
right.
This is all his fault. Like,
6 months old, yeah.
Well, not him. I'm talking about.
I know.
I'm talking about the person who put it up to his mouth. I'm going,
right,
yeah.
Right.
But yeah, him is 6 months old. He should have known better.
He should have, for sure.
So I think that's where the switch flipped, and it's not like I hadn't heard. I kind of had these two kind of like, you got the angel and the devil on your shoulder, right? I had one mentor in my life who was like, once I had kids, we just cut out alcohol completely. Like, we knew it was a good thing. Yeah, he was like, knew it was no good. We had our time with it, but I decided then and there I was cutting it out, and I was going to model that. And then on the other shoulder, I had that kind of another mentor who was like, there are some days I get home from work and I just had to go out to the shed, have that beer from the fridge before I could go in the house and deal with what I was going to have to deal with there with 2 kids and like the chaos that is home life. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, both of them I really respect, and both of them I'm going, this guy, I'm like, yeah, I get it. And it's like normal, right? You just want to knock the edge off.
Right.
That's what it is. You want to knock the edge off. And, but ultimately this guy won out because I was I just got to cut it. And, then it's figuring out what it meant, right? Like, is it, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to do it in front of them, or am I just not going to do it? And part of me, as I'm sitting, because I'm super cerebral. I'm like thinking these things.
Yeah, I can tell. Yeah.
Going, isn't it a little hypocritical if I'm like, oh yeah, no, we shouldn't be drinking, or we should treat it with respect or whatever, and then I'm going over here on the side like, except when you're not around. So that's why I ended up cutting it out, and it's been like almost 10 years.
Dang.
And makes it super awkward to go to those big events. Barbecues, probably not even as bad. Weddings, work functions. Those are like the big 3 where you go, I'm the only guy here without a beer in his hand.
Yeah.
I'll have a water, please.
You're right. I'll just have a water in a beer bottle, if you don't mind.
If you could just give me one of those empties right there, I'm just going to pour it right in. You don't have to do it.
Yeah, it is interesting because especially now I haven't been 10 years, but it's going on July before. But it's like inherently when you don't drink anymore, your environment just sort of organically changes when you stop drinking. It just does. Like, I'm not going down to 4th Street Tavern. Where else did we go? The beach, we would still go to the beach, but the beach is a little different because then also everyone else is drinking, but your environment changes. So the places was usually at, I'm not really at as much anymore. So then I almost feel a little insulated where I almost forget that people drink still. because I'm just not around. I wasn't around many people that did. It wasn't, And then when I go to events where people are drinking again, I am like shell shocked again because I'm almost like brought back to that moment where I was when I was drinking, and then I think, well, I was a fun guy at the wedding. I was a fun guy,
Oh yeah.
But now I'm not anymore because there's no alcohol, and so I do struggle in that sometimes. Unless I like kind of thought about it and I've talked to some buddies that before I go to the wedding, whatever that event is, I've kind of talked through it. I do kind of get like I feel like an alien, sort of on a different planet.
Well, it's weird. I mean, it is countercultural for sure because everybody. I mean, the wedding we went to, right? It's not like I thought it'd be a room of heavy drinkers. It's
right.
and I don't know that anybody was.
Right, I don't think so.
But it's just very casual, right? So
right.
it's like it's just a normal thing for people. I don't even think there's something wrong with it from that aspect, but I just go, it's not something I want my behavior modeling for my children to make it out to where it's not a big deal. Because it's definitely a big deal to be responsible as you can be. I don't ever expect that my children will never try it or experiment.
Right.
I know that'll happen, but I don't want me being casual with it to lead them down to the path to think it's not a big deal and all of a sudden they've got a real problem.
Right.
So right or wrong, I mean, obviously nobody modeled it for me, so you can still go down that road. I think you're always going to go down some path that you shouldn't be going down at some point, just trying to figure out life. But yeah, the whole thing with weddings and all that, it is super awkward. And then there are friends where maybe, I don't know if this has been your experience, but like you're not hanging out as much anymore because that's what you did.
Yeah.
Was you got together and you drank. Or you sit around, you might play some games and have some drinks, and it's like they're not really asking you over anymore, and it's not that you're not the same person really, but I don't know what it is. Like if you're the odd man out, you're making other people feel weird because you're not drinking.
Whew, that's a good question. Yeah, I do think you don't get invited to the things as much. I think at first you got invited to things because they're like, oh yeah, it's no big deal, man. If you don't drink, it's fine. Still come back out and hang out. And I would when I'd get invited and stuff. But then they're like, maybe they were thinking like, oh, it is kind of weird now that he's not drinking. Because I mean, you could be angry drunk. I was probably more. I got louder and louder and louder. I don't think I really got angry, but the more we drank, the more evident it was that I was around.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
That kind of guy.
Your presence felt.
Right, exactly. So then when they're drinking still and I'm there, but I'm not as present or as noticeable as I once was, I think maybe that was weird.
Well, and I can think the weird part is if there's a sober person around, they see you acting like an idiot, right? Like, and they're clear-headed enough they're not taking part in the idiocy that's going on.
Right.
I think that's what it comes back down to too. It's weird to like be under the microscope. Right? If you're sitting there just trying to have a good time and somebody's looking at you going, yeah, you shouldn't have said that. It's dumb.
It is so interesting too to be sober and then be in an environment, especially with this heavy drinking. It's so interesting because what I used to think was hilarious or what I like is not funny. There was maybe 2 years ago I was somewhere and this guy it was a heavy drinking going on and I was just happened to be there, heavy drinking, and this one guy said the same joke. Probably, I'm not kidding you, probably 12 to 14 times about like his brother, and he's like, and I told him the cows don't do that or something. I don't know what the joke was.
Maybe
the cows don't do
that.
And
dads do that too.
But he said the same joke probably 12 times within 10 minutes, and every time it was more hilarious to him. And I remember just watching him being like, I was that guy. But when you're sober, you're like, this isn't. I want to laugh. I love fun. I love funny things. But this just isn't.
Who doesn't love fun?
This isn't that. And I'm just like, gosh.
Breaking news. People like fun.
Yeah. And man, I just thought it's just so interesting to see. Just take a step back and look at it when you're sober, and you're like, man, that's just. I was an idiot, and I thought it was hilarious.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, that's the altered state of mind, right? It's like, I don't know what it is. It just makes you infantile, stupid,
right?
And some of that, I mean, that's part of the draw, right? It's like, for a minute, you're forgetting about everything else that's going on. Because I was thinking about like all the conversations we've had around like, all right, is the pursuit of life being happy or being contented? You know, and you go, I think we're all driving to be happy in life, right? And that probably shouldn't be the pursuit. We should just be contented. But when you're sitting there drinking, it's like nothing's wrong until you go into that spiral that I was going into.
Yeah.
But like everything's good. We're just out having a good time. I'm not thinking about money. I'm not thinking about, probably in those heavier days, I'm not thinking about girls. I'm not thinking about all the things that are wrong. Just here with my friends. We're having a good time. But all those thoughts creep in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everything is it's and then you've only kicked the can on the problems.
What do you mean?
So you might be having fun that night. The problems are still there in the morning, right? You got to deal with them. Whatever the problems are, big or small, you've got to deal with your problems. It's like taking the edge off. Yeah, think of it this way: you're losing your edge.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. And I think, well, what do you think? So, what do you think your, this is probably a more heavy question here, but what do you think your root problem was? Like when it really escalated, what were you really trying to maybe escape?
Comparison. It's the thief of joy.
Yeah.
I looked at everybody else, and this is way before, maybe not way before. I'm not going to say I'm way before Facebook, but this is before Facebook became, and social media was like what it is today. I mean, I think MySpace was probably around, but it's not.
Tom.
Yeah, Tom from MySpace. I mean, it's like one of my top friends.
Yep. Yeah. He's my only friend. Yeah.
But, you weren't seeing like this whole... So anyway, it's just in my social circle, right? Seeing what other people had, seeing the way if girls reacted to them one way and not to me another. It's that's the thing that when you compare it and you don't have your identity, I think that's what it is. Trying to find my identity and who I am, and I'm trying to find it. And all right, am I the fun guy at parties? Am I the rock star? I'm learning to play guitar at that point.
Oh,
it's
heck
like,
yeah.
Am I like, because some of that we would play out at places. You get free drinks.
Mm-hmm.
Make a fool of myself there too, because now I'm not only drinking, I also have a microphone. And
I wish I could have seen this partially.
Yeah, like there's the thoughts, and then people are like, "You guys, it was more entertaining the more you drank," and I'm like, "Oh, I'm sure it was. I'm sure it was." Like it's total, just you totally make an ass out of yourself,
right.
And I just don't think I had that identity that I have today, which you find your identity in Christ. That's where I find it. I don't know if everybody's. I know everybody's not finding it there, right?
Sure.
And through that identity, I think you can find contentment, just in whatever your circumstances are. That's the idea. Not that you're always going to be happy, because nobody's happy all the time. Not to be crass, but people piss in my cornflakes every single day. Like before I even drop those kids off, they're usually the first one.
Someone's just right up there. Just get ready to. Just
unzip.
go ahead.
Yeah.
Pulling up their tunic, just ready to go. Right in your bowl, man.
The tunic. And they're like, how does that taste, old man?
I said urine tastes of them Cheerios. Yeah.
Basically. I mean, that's what, and so you find those, things that, just make you content. Like you got to push some of that stuff out. Whatever happened, you gotta have short memory, right?
Yeah, it is interesting because contentment or peace versus happiness. I do think when I was drinking, I was probably just trying to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
like I just want to be happy, man. And then so the drinking would start sometimes, especially if it was the weekend, it would start at probably 10:30, 11 in the morning. Because I just, in that state of mind I was in, I wanted to escape and just be happy. Dude, I just want to be happy. And if I can start at 10 and get this sucker rolling till 10 o'clock at night and then I pass out, it's just a little bit from, 8 in the morning till 10 o'clock the next morning that I'm a little bit rocky and I don't feel good and my thoughts can, fluttering back really quick. But then if I just drink again just to be happy, it's really interesting. That's probably, I just hadn't thought about it like that, but that's probably where I was, where happiness versus contentment or having peace. I wasn't there.
I think that's the root of it. All this, I can't paint with such a large paintbrush that it's everybody's situation. But at least for me, it's like the pursuit of happiness is probably what led me down that path versus the pursuit of contentment. And it's hard. Like, it's hard today just to stay content. Like, you see same thing what other people have, or, just finances. That's always a source of discontentment, right? Like, because you always want more. And no matter what level I've ever gotten to in my career or how financially stable I've gotten, there's always, you reach some milestone with a house and the cars and all that. And it's like, well, I don't have a second house.
Right.
I need the second house too. Like,
right.
Why do all these other people have vacation properties? I don't have a vacation property now.
Right.
Like all this needless stuff. And earlier this year, I went with a group to Jamaica, and we saw people who literally had nothing and lived in it's basically a shack the size of my storage shed in the backyard with no AC, no doors, no running water, no plumbing. So, and I don't, I'm not going to say they're like super happy about that situation either, but then to come back and see all that we do have, I want to say it gives you a new appreciation. I mean, to a certain extent you do for a period. But it's baked into us. I feel like the consumerism, the greed, and just comparison to what other people have, because you can't get it out of your periphery.
Do you think that's part of do you think that's partially just the American culture to blame, or do you think like the people in Jamaica who live in a shed, they're looking over and they're like, gosh, that person's got a window in their shed, if we can just get a window. And then the person who has a window in their shed is looking, they're like, gosh, if we look at, he's got a door over there and a window. I want a door and a window. Do you think they're doing that too, just at a lesser extent?
I'm sure. It's got to. I think it's probably human nature, right? I mean, I don't know how old that adage is. Comparison is the thief of joy, but it's got to be super old and just one of those hard-grained, like, encoded truths in our DNA, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're always going to look to what other people have and wonder, why not me? I look at Jeff Bezos and his yachts, his mega yachts, and why not me?
Right.
I mean, I may not have been the CEO of Amazon, but I'm doing something right. I'm working hard.
Got this paddle boat out here, got it from Academy. Yeah, I don't know. And then how do you think, so comparison is the thief of joy, I totally agree. But then how do you think we can turn that for good, though? Like, how do you think that drive to have more things can be used for good, though?
Well, I mean, I think recognition is your first key, right? Like, if you recognize a problem and it's not a blind spot anymore, then you can flip that. I mean, certainly there's this nagging thing. Like, when we bought our house, you start thinking like, okay, this is great, huge blessing, but how do I use it for something greater than me? Like, how do I put this to work for God's kingdom, and not just, hey, I got an extra room, I can do I was gonna say arts and crafts. I don't really do arts and crafts, but like, I got my arts and crafts nook. I think we watched a lot of HGTV during that time too.
Model train room or something.
Here's your paper wrapping station. And you just unfold it here. So I think, golly, that's really. I think back, that might be a real metrosexual time in my period too.
That was when you had maybe 2 buttons undone on your shirt.
I had 2 buttons and there might have been a chain check. Oh, now I will totally tell on myself. There was a point with those JNCOs, because now I'm circling all the way back,
right,
where I'd wear like the chain, like the choker chain,
wow. Yeah,
and the like total like little skater boy deal for a guy who didn't skate.
Either did I. I didn't either. I wanted to. I had a hemp necklace. I remember that. A hemp necklace. And then I also had what was the white ones? They were kind of
like
jagged.
Puka Shells?
That's it. I had one of those. And we would go to vacation. I want to let everybody know I was on vacation. On spring break, so I come back with that.
Oh, don't forget the Puka Shells.
Yeah.
Don't forget to pack my Puka Shells, Mom.
That and a Ron John shirt, just let everyone know I went to Cocoa Beach.
That's it. I had a Cocoa Beach Ron John Surf Shop t-shirt. I had it, wore it all the time.
But what's so funny, to bring it full circle, is I think when everyone came back from spring break and everyone was wearing the new Ron John shirt, the Puka shell necklace, all the things, I think that was comparison. I think we were trying to all compare one another in that sense. You know what I'm saying?
And I think it does come back to identity, right? I was trying to be something I was not. I can't believe that we could connect these dots.
Yeah.
With that stupid JNCO conversation. But yeah, like, look, I'm trying to look like a skater punk, whatever, and that was not me. I'm drinking, and I mean, it might have been a part of my identity at that point, but it's really not my identity, or at least it shouldn't have been. So I think that's probably the need to fit in and caring about what other people think about you.
So then, man, I think it's pretty funny how we have, I don't want to toot our own horns here, but here we go. It all is all the same thing. Is where we started off and where we finish. I think is just, who are you? It breaks down to, who are you? Because then if you don't know who you are, then you'll just float out there and you'll be whatever. You'll wear pipe jeans, some corduroy pipes, and an American Eagle shirt. You'll drink till whenever college. You'll drink more. Why? Not because your genes are telling you. Well, we're using genes and talking about pants a lot. Not because your genetics in college are telling you to drink more. That's not why we drink. We drink because everyone else is doing it too. Mm-hmm. So if you don't know who you are, and then when you get older, we're in our early 20s, we're starting to have kids, we're still going to drink though. We're still kind of, you're kind of coming off the college age and you're going to young adults and having young families. So we still drink. Now we just have little kids now too. You know what I'm saying? So if you don't ever know who you are, you just kind of float out there.
That's it. If you're not rooted in your identity, and for me, it's rooted in my identity as a child of God. And that's the thing I want to pour into my kids. I mean, and I haven't done great at following this up. I was trying to tell my daughter every single day, you're a real life princess because you're a child of the one true king. Like, that is something to pour into so that her self-worth and her value is pumped up and high. Like, I want high self-esteem. I don't want followers. That's one thing my mother-in-law does say to my kids that I really like that being poured into. Is like, remember, you're the head, not the tail. You're going to be a leader, not a follower. And that's important stuff to get into them while they're young. Yeah. Because hopefully that stuff sticks. I mean, jury's still out. My oldest kid's 10, so I don't know if it's sticking yet or not.
Right.
But I see some of that coming out in him. Like, some of it starting to click. And I think that being rooted in that is... I mean, it makes a ton of difference in the direction your life's going to go.
I think that's such a great point, because I think with a 12-year-old daughter and an 8-year-old son, I don't know that I ever knew who I was deep down to the core. And I'm not blaming this on my parents or anything. I own everything I've done and everything, but I don't know that I ever knew who I was deep down. Whereas if you have children And it's like I was telling a buddy, if you know who you are and your feet are locked in there, you're still going to do stupid things. You're still going to make mistakes. You're still going to try to compare yourself to others. You're still going to go off and do these different things. But at the end of the day, you have this anchor to sort of at least come back to and realize how far you've gone. Mm-hmm. If you don't ever know who you are and you drift way off there doing whatever you're doing, you're just there. You're not lost because you never had a starting. You never had a base to begin with. You know what I'm saying?
That's it. You're floating. You're directionless.
And that's just where your foundation at that point is just whatever you're doing. If you're drinking, like, I was like 5, 6 days a week, 7 days a week. Hey, this is my foundation because this is where I'm not lost. I have no relativity to where I was before. And so my wife and I are trying to speak truth into our kids to get that identity built now about who they are. Because then if they don't, I feel like they'll be whatever society tells them to. And that's a lot of like self-hatred, a lot of self-loathing. They'll just never see who they are. You know what I'm saying? They'll never identify who they are.
Yeah, no, I think that foundation's important. And, when I don't know that I ever had like the model for that, right? Of how to live that out. And then I think once I had kids, like there's this, I don't know if it's like a revelation or what, but it's like I can see how God would love me through the way that I love my kids, right? Like if my love's imperfect and I loved them so much and I would do anything for them, like how much more would my Father do for me? So I don't think I really grasped that piece of it and that piece of my worth. I think that's what it's about too, your identity and your self-worth. As a child of God, you're worthy, you're chosen, you're loved. And even if you don't call yourself a child of God too, you are still being pursued. You're being, right. You are loved. He loves you. He's chasing after you. Even if you don't see it, even if you don't believe it, he wants to be in relationship with you. And I think that's a hard thing to wrap your mind around.
It is.
But it's easier when you have kids because once you see the way you feel about them, and it's a different kind of love than you've ever known. Like it's different than what you have for your own parents. It's different than what you have for your spouse. It's this protective and nurturing and
yeah, man, it's so interesting you go to that because I think especially there's a lot of men out there, myself included, who don't know that. And look, I'm not here. We'll have a separate episode where we go into apologetics and we prove that God does exist. And we'll go into the science and morality, and we'll talk about Hitler.
Might need a series of them.
And we'll prove how and why God exists. That'll be a separate episode. But it doesn't matter. He still does, even if you choose not to believe it. It's like the prodigal son that went away. He just didn't want his dad to exist anymore. Therefore, he ran away. And versus he didn't. It's not that he didn't believe his dad didn't exist. He knew his dad existed. But I think that when you have kids, the illustration of how God pursues us is so self-evident. Because I remember I was talking to a buddy who was in a rough way, and just a lot of self-talk was awful. And the way he saw himself was so worthless, essentially, just real down low. And when you can illustrate that, whereas like your son, if he develops a drinking issue and he, finds himself in a valley or finds himself in a ditch and he calls you and he needs your help, are you going to love him more or less?
No, you're going to keep loving on him more. And that's the thing.
Right.
You're never too bad or too far gone that he doesn't love you,
right? And
that he's not going to give you attention and I mean, think of it like with your own kids, right? If one of them's got something going on or a real situation, like you're giving a lot of focus and attention to that child, even if the other ones aren't getting that same amount. And it's not that you love them more, but you want to pour into them and
right.
help them, and you're giving more. It's not like this relationship with, well, you screwed up,
right.
Too bad, you're on your own, kid.
Right.
Like, that's never the mentality.
And I don't know how we got that perception jacked up, because it does feel like, yeah, like when guys are in the valley and and myself being in them, it's like I just you feel, because I feel like crap about myself, therefore God must also, he probably definitely agrees that I'm awful, I'm broken, which partially is true. But the bad news for you is he's closer now to you than he's ever been, and not in a condemning way, like in the same way you would be with your son. It's like, I'm coming just to be with you and just to help you through this. I don't care what you've done. Yeah, I don't care what you've done, anything. Like, I'm here for you, to be here to help this. Like, not to be like, okay, well, once you do 30 push-ups and 20 sit-ups and, other sets of punishments, then we'll see.
And I'll receive you back.
Right. It's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how do we mess that up?
I think we mess it up because as people, we are the worst models of it anyway. So, like, depending on what your upbringing was and your home life was, your experience with your own parents can skew probably the way that you feel about God, right? If you had a dad who was punitive and rough and or just wasn't present, wasn't around, didn't pour into you. I mean, you can get it wrong so many ways. It's really mind-blowing how anybody can actually get it right, because there's so many ways to trip and fail. I still do it.
Right.
But I do feel like having that core foundation, knowing who I am as a child of God, it anchors you, it roots you, it brings you back. It's a tether so that you're not floating too far off. I just had an incident, not this past weekend, but the week before, with my oldest, because he was talking back to my wife, then he was talking back to me, and I lost it and snatched him up and then grabbed his face and got in his face, and, total out of anger approach, right? And he started crying, because it doesn't happen a lot where I just have lost it and I'm ready to just shake him. And he was so upset, and he literally went, he's got one of these little like the captain's bed kind of thing where it sits up high and he can get up under it. Yeah. And it took me about 10 minutes to go, I have really messed up. Let me go talk to him, because you never want your child to fear you or be scared of your hands, right? I don't want to be scared. I mean, we do believe in spankings. He's a little old for that, but the younger ones too. I definitely believe in spanking. So, but I never want it to be out of anger. Right. It's a place of all right, you got to calm down before you approach that kind of thing. So, I went and I talked to him, and I think that's part of the tether, right? It's I realized something was wrong with the way I approached it. Still had to come back to him and say, that's not excusing your mouth and your attitude, because what you did was wrong, but my reaction to it was also wrong, and two wrongs don't make a right. So, that's how I'm trying to combat the thing. I mean, you've got the tether. You have to be pulled back into, what you need to do. And also, I think there's a lesson in there for him, too. It's when you make a mistake, it's okay, but you do need to own it. And you need to go to that person. You need to look them in the eye and tell them, I screwed up, and I'm legitimately sorry for it, especially when it's somebody that you care about, like your child. Right. I guess it shouldn't be especially, right? You should do that for everybody.
No, I know what you're saying, though, yeah.
But, I'm really dialed in and focused on doing that for my kids. And so, I don't know. But certainly, I'm not trying to be pious. I'm not trying to be I've got all the answers. Because obviously, the purpose of that story was, I screwed up. I got it wrong. And we're all going to get it wrong because we're not perfect.
And I do think that's a new generation thing of parents apologizing to children. I don't think in previous generations that wasn't common for the parents to apologize when they messed up to the kids. And so I think the kids inherently feel a pressure to be perfect because mom and dad never apologized. Therefore, they didn't make mistakes. That's just what your young eyes are seeing. They didn't make mistakes, so I have to be perfect too. But I think when you apologize, it kind of just says, okay, I'm going to make mistakes. It's okay. When you make mistakes, you just got to go back to your anchor like you said, it's like we went to this past weekend. I had 14 shrubs to plant, and then just a plethora of showers. Like we put,
That sounds miserable. Yeah.
yeah, we put a dent in the nursery, like getting, I mean, several trips back of all these
And
plants.
in your wallet.
Oh, and the wall several times. Yeah, Plant and See is like, come back anytime, dude.
Just bring your checkbook.
Yeah, exactly.
No cards accepted.
And I had a ton to do Saturday. Well, Saturday we had a soccer game, and then my daughter's got a boyfriend right now.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so I'm navigating these waters. We don't know what the hell we're doing, but it was like 12:30, and I'm thinking, okay, it's time to go home. I'm gonna start getting these shrubs in the ground, getting this nature right. And my daughter wants to see her boyfriend's baseball game, and it's at 12:30, and it's at Elm Street Park, Greenville Little League, and these folks up here.
And they'd
It's
be
serious.
crazy.
It's serious. And so we roll up there. I'm thinking, okay, 12:30. We'll probably be done around 1:30 or so. They played a full 9 innings. It was an exhibition game. And it was just, I mean, we walked out of there, I think at 3:30. 3 hours we were there. And I was being kind of like, I mean, I was doing this number. I was walking to center field. They were in right field. And I'm like, come on. And then, oh my gosh, then they're almost about to win on the last out. And then the team got a run right in the last out to push it to more extra innings. And I'm just like, oh, gosh. And like, baseball's already a little slow. But anyways, I was acting like a real jerk. It was evident, and I knew it. And again, I'm still trying to navigate this new boyfriend thing. So please forgive me.
Yeah,
but
that one's tough. I'm not there yet.
Oh, and so, that was great. So 3:30, and I get home, and Chris and I are talking about it, and she's making me feel, she knows that I know that I was wrong, but she still is just making sure she plants me in the bottom. And then that night, I was laying down with Peyton. I went to go lay with her for a minute. I said, Peyton, I'm sorry. I acted like an idiot back there. I'm sorry about that. And it was so funny because she quickly just like laughed about it, because it was quicker. It wasn't like I let a week go by and was still a jerk. But it's like when you just are like, Peyton, I don't know what I'm doing. You have a boyfriend. I'm trying to figure it out. And like you just are honest with your kids.
Yeah.
First of all, it's the easy thing to do. But second of all, is like she sees, okay, Dad's gonna makes it easier on me too, because she knows I'm gonna be making mistakes all the time.
Oh, yeah, and they make jokes about it, because don't think that my son has not now like called me out and he's like grabbing my face, trying to tell me something in jest. So he's totally giving it to me, because he is my son and he's gonna do that. Like he got that honest, right?
Right.
So he's giving it back to me. So yeah, but I think he couldn't do it, and we couldn't laugh about it,
right,
had we not had the moment of basically to heal that.
Yeah.
I hope it was healed.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
Because it was out of character, and but trust is something that can be broken easily, right? Mm-hmm. So I want to be fully aware of, like, there are moments where you could pop off and then totally blow everybody's trust.
Right.
You can come back and apologize, but it's still in their mind. Because even the jokes, I'm like, all right, he haven't forgot about it. It's a memory that's just implanted into now his core memories. There's a certain part of me going to like, don't hate that he knows, like keep him on his toes, right? Like,
right.
He knows it's not always going to be like, well, son, you shouldn't have done that. No, but I love you.
Right.
It's just always going to be there in the back of his mind, like,
he might go off.
Yeah, I don't snap. I don't hate that too, but
right.
I don't know. Parenting's weird and hard.
Parenting is weird, but you know what it is? It's a heck of a lot easier when you're not drinking a ton.
Yes, it is.
I mean, I will say that.
It's I didn't have a ton of it especially when the other two, it was out of the picture, and I'm not sure what it would have been like, because there are days where it'd be real easy just to retreat to the garage and be like, I'll be in about 30 minutes.
Right. Right.
I got to get my mind right. And then once my guard's down, those moments like I had a week ago would probably be a lot more common than it would be, because it's just much easier to drop your guard and be led by your emotions.
Right.
If you let your emotions lead you with children, It's going to be a long 18 years. Or 22 or 25. I guess most kids, it's about 25 now.
Yeah, I was going to say, 30. You're both retiring together. The emotion thing is interesting, especially the discipline. We disciplined a lot out of emotion, probably the first 7 years, because that's just that's what you do. And we still do that sometimes. I mean, still sometimes there's some times where you kind of the time and the circumstance and the environment, you have to sort of react more based off emotion than being objective. But it's hard.
It's hard. I mean, whoever told me it was easy is a liar.
Right.
Nobody told me that.
Or you'll have somebody who has
it's a breeze.
Right. They usually have like no kids. They have a couple of dogs. And they're like, look, I would love for my kids.
I met that guy. Had no kids, and he's like, I love kids. And at this point, I don't know if we have 2 or 3 at this juncture. But this guy sits across from me, looks me dead in the eye, and says, you know what the secret to kids is, though? You never break frame. You never let them see the emotion. And I'm like, says the guy with 0 kids. Have you ever had them paint on the carpet? I mean, really, dude. Right. Have you ever taken them on vacation and as soon as you walk in the park, like, they crap their pants?
Right.
You know? Like,
right.
You have not lived these stresses that would obviously make your emotions... You might not completely shatter the frame, but that frame's cracking.
Oh, dude.
It's cracking.
I mean, I remember one time we were... with just our daughter, she would get up in the morning and she'd watch Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, and we put her in this seat that sort of just rock back and forth. And I remember this one time, I don't know what she had, but we'd put her in there and she'd usually fall asleep because she'd get relaxed. You know, Mickey Mouse Clubhouse is just it's a sedative. Oh, for sure. And I went to go like make a cup of coffee or doing something, and occasionally poke your eye up there. Dude, she had poop up to her back of her shoulders, all up on her. I mean, there wasn't anywhere. It was on the trim, it was in the ceiling, it was on the wall. It was just everywhere on her fingers because she's like inherently kind of doing that. There's no human being that walks in that situation and just like, okay, we're gonna do what we're gonna do now.
All right,
we're just gonna fix this. It's totally fine. You know what I mean? Like nobody.
Yeah. No, not at all. Similar experience where we stayed at my sister-in-law's house. Everybody's winding down, getting ready for bed. My oldest is still in diapers at this point, but he's, toddler, so he's running around. And right before bed, he jumps in my arms with just the diaper on, which is, it's a great, sweet moment. And poo just squirts out onto my bare arm, and I lost it. I screamed like a lady. He's like, "What's wrong?" Like, obviously you're not aware of what's going on here, kid. You've just literally squirted it out like toothpaste, just all out on my arm, and it's like semi-solid, so it's sticking there. It's not running off. It's not dripping down. It's just on there. Take this kid, get him a shower. I'm getting in a shower. Get me some steel wool pads because I can't get clean right now.
You're just taking the skin off.
I gotta peel the skin and start fresh because it's not getting clean. I didn't feel clean for like 2 weeks, And meanwhile, he's probably in his mind like, I don't know what the big deal is. What did I do? And
right.
I'm just trying to jump in your arms, Dad.
We went. It's the thing that you go back to viewing, and when you're a parent, it changes everything. We were at this pool one time, and my son was jumping in the pool, and I think he had like the swim diaper kind of thing on, like he's like 2 or 3.
Oh yeah.
And he jumps in the pool, man, and all of a sudden he gets, it's like Mickey Mouse Clubhouse is playing outside now, and he gets relaxed. And then he just drops a deuce right in the pool. I mean, this is a public pool, dude. A public pool, and he's up by the stairs, but it was in the corner where I was right there. And all of a sudden I see this log just go boop and float to the surface.
Straight Caddyshack style.
Instant reaction was I grabbed it with my bare hands. Okay? I didn't even think about this. This is just
This is just
this is what God does for us, right? He just takes our
instincts,
it's just, and he just I just grab this thing, and I just flick it backhand, and instantly go back like nothing ever happened. Because the last thing I wanted them to do is shut down this public pool because my son dropped a deuce in it, and so some of it probably was a little comparison, right? Like I'm trying to go back to your comparisons, Steve. I'm trying to put up the perfect image of a family here, but sometimes you got to reach in and grab the turds, dude. And I grabbed it, flicked it back, and instantly just sat there and was like, just here we are. Just in the things you do.
What a great metaphor for life. I've just got to grab the turd and fling it.
You do. Whatever it is, dude. Whatever it is. And don't look back.
And don't look back.
Don't look around. Don't see if anyone, making sure no one saw that,
Yep. That just me and my family hanging out.
Yep. Must have been a leaf or something.
Somebody pooped in the pool.
Yep.
And I just flung it out like a monkey.
But it's like...
I'm over here flinging turds.
Exactly, man.
Everybody's still having a good day.
And the thing is like, if you don't have kids yet, you just don't. It's just not there yet. Like,
It doesn't resonate.
Yeah.
But
there's no handbook for that.
I think we just provided birth control for a whole nation of young men.
Yeah, man. Well,
if this podcast ever goes viral, you're gonna see abstinence is like now the new. It's
right.
like the new cultural thing.
Dude, unless you want to be throwing turds.
Unless you want to be throwing turds out of pools this summer, keep it in your pants.
Right, exactly. Keep it in them JNCO jeans.
keep it tucked in the JNCOs. I know it's hard because they're pretty saggy.
Right.
But
yeah,
how
then
is
you
that
go.
ever a good look? I'd look back. I go, why did we do it?
There's a picture I have, and I can see it now. We went to Hard Rock Cafe, and I had cargo shorts, and there were just shreds. It was just shreds of cargo shorts hanging off my hips, and you could see my white pocket inserts underneath. And I just thought, Kristen was dating me at this point, and I just think, why,
I mean, because everybody was doing it.
Everybody was doing it, man.
Everybody's doing it.
Well, we should probably close up. I could sit here and just talk the rest of the entire day, but we do need to get into apologetics and morality next time, I think, and talk about that. I think there's probably 1,000 different things we could go, but anything else you want to add?
Man, you're looking for the stinger on the tail end. Yeah, I mean, it's it. You just, I feel the need to model the behavior that I want other people to follow, right? And it doesn't always work, but I think that's the hope anyway, right?
Mm-hmm.
Stay rooted, stay tethered, and you'll never drift too far.
That's right. If you look down, you're wearing JNCO jeans or pipes or heck, even V-necks, then maybe that's your call to anchor down somewhere else.
Yeah, that's it. Pull that anchor somewhere else. Return to the button-up shirts and the khaki pants, right? More sensible slacks.
Exactly. Jeans on Friday.
And jeans on Friday. Corporate t-shirt.
I do. Well, I appreciate it.
All right. Yep. It's fun.
Where do I go? What will I be? It's who I am. What will they see? Maybe I pray. Yeah. At the end of my days, yeah. What will they say? What will they say?